This conference will now be recorded.
As Colin mentioned, this presentation will be run by myself and my colleague, Mr. Andre Dollar, who I'm hoping is now on the call. What I'll do is I'm going to unmute Andre's mic just so that he can input now and again. So, herd rail development, who are we? So we have been an established supplier to the UK and global rail industry now for a number of years. It's a small family-owned business. We're based in the northern half of England, up in Doncaster, but we've continued to grow throughout the years, and we now have a Dutch office, which Andre heads up over there, and that's going really well, and we're looking to grow the team over there as well. As you see, we're part of the Herd Group. The oldest company in the group is HRS, that stands for Herd Rail Services, and they supply, or have done for the last 10 years or so, around 95% of Network Rail's requirement for insulated rail joints. They're manufactured up in the facility up in Doncaster. TTS is another company in the group. That stands for Trough Tech Systems, and they provide polymer cable troughing and route management solutions for rail and other industries as well. So that's been going around 7 years, and the team are doing really well to grow that side of the business. It's obviously a huge push for sustainability and recycled products, that sort of thing. So there's a real big focus for that at the minute. Herd rail development, the reason we're all here today. So we were born out of a requirement from Network Rail and other rail authorities throughout the world to basically bring best-in-class technologies and solutions into the rail sector. So a small team was set up to scour the globe looking for technology solutions to improve the likes of reliability and maintenance. There's obviously a huge focus on projects at the minute. Well, not at the minute, but the main focus is the future and how we make things faster, better, and recycle more products, that sort of thing. But what we felt was apparent was that, specifically within Network Rail, it felt as though maintenance was taking a bit of a backseat or less of a focus. So after speaking to some people within Network Rail, we were tasked with going out to try and find some maintenance solutions. There's a point there, insulated rail joint kit manufacturer. So we actually manufacture our own insulated rail joint kits, which we supply to our sister company HRS and to other manufacturers of insulated rail joints throughout the world. So that's a bit of a background of herd rail development, who we are and what we do. This presentation is going to be predominantly around reliability and maintenance solutions that we've either developed or helping promote in and around the world. I'm not going to go into huge detail into one specific area, but I'm going to touch on various products and services that we do. And then obviously if there's any questions on any of those specific areas, please feel free to put them in the comment section that we can answer afterwards. So I will first, bear with me. Going to jump to a problem that we were faced with. So lifting insulated rail joints, huge problem in the UK, actually with the global rail industry, a cause of circuit failures and a reason to replace rail and full insulated rail joints prematurely. This was a huge problem over in the Dutch market that Andre can allude to a little bit more, but essentially this was as part of the insulated rail joint specification that was released. They called for a long-lasting end post rehabilitation kit to be supplied along with the new insulated rail joint, and the reason for that being that in a lot of instances the joint is scrapped, thrown away or replaced because of damage to the end post or lipping where the rail itself and the insulated, the joint, the bars, the pins, everything's fully intact, and the life can be extended by simply rehabilitating the head of the rail. Now, this isn't a new phenomenon. Obviously, this is an issue that affects rail authorities all around the world, and there are solutions out there to help solve this problem. There is, we've known people just finding bits of plastic and trying to glue little bits of plastic back in a gap that's been left, simply using a silicone gun from the hardware store. And there is a product that has been used by Network Rail for a number of years. The issue with this product is that it is in fact a glue. So when applied into a gap, when the insulated rail joint has been delibbed, this product is then inserted into a gap. It cures hard. Train goes over it multiple times. It breaks out. You can get dust, swarf in the gap, and the problem repeats. So what we tried to do is look around to see if there was a solution that we could provide Network Rail that was similar, so they weren't going to be changing their method too much, but a different product that could be used, and also to try and help them accept a bit of a mindset shift. So moving away from getting out there and quickly repairing this problem and using a temporary fix to then have to go back to the same joint over and over again, we wanted to help them find a solution and change their way of repairing the joint, so that if you take a little bit more time to repair the joint now, it will pay dividends in the future, because you're going to get a much longer life out of that insulated rail joint. Let's move this out of the way. So the components in the kit that we sourced came from a Dutch company, RailPro, which Andre was a part of, a very key part of, before moving over to the UK to work with us. And they have been supplying this product for use in the Dutch railways for the 10 years now. So the components are proven to work, and it's actually a system. It's a kit used as a system. So it's a step-by-step process, specifically designed. Each component in the kit is designed for the process of repairing an end post in an IRJ. This isn't a glue that's used in home repair, or a glue that's used in automotive resin, anything like that. These components are specifically made for repairing insulated rail joints. So the filler product, this number 3 cartridge here, is extremely fast curing. The hotter the rail, the faster that this filler product is going to cure, but it doesn't become brittle. It stays flexible, and will stay flexible under the weight of a passing train. Issues with other products are that they do become brittle. The very nature of them being a glue means that they can quite easily break and snap and break out of the gap. As I mentioned, remains flexible under load. One of the biggest issues with insulated rail joints is water ingress. That's one of the main causes of failures, and we're going to go on to other areas that we've helped out in this area to further on in the presentation. But this product helps to seal the head where there's potentially a gap that's occurred between the end post and the rail end itself. The ductility of this product, when it's in its wet form, will fully seal the area, providing a waterproof seal. And as mentioned, this is a proven system. It's not a new system. It's been used throughout Europe extensively. A little bit more on this product and this process. And again, this is more of the process side of things, trying to encourage people to take time to repair the joint now. So there's a few steps that differ in the preparation process when applying this product. So one of them being the depth that you grind away the existing end post. There's a tendency to just try and grind away the lipping. And people who are familiar with lipped end posts in insulated rail joints will know that you're meant to grind away the lipping, grind away the area that's the 2 bits of metal that are either touching or close to touching, and then putting a 45-degree chamfer on, filling with a little bit of product, and then walking away. What we encourage is to grind down a minimum of 20 mil from the head of the rail. So you're actually rehabilitating and rebuilding the end post as opposed to just putting a little plaster band-aids over the top of the very top of the head of the rail. You're rebuilding the top of the end post. There are sprays included in this kit as well, preparation sprays. So a joint primer spray is added to the end post once it's been ground away, and what this does, it just helps the filler product to adhere to the end post, the top of the end post, once you've ground it away. The filler product is then applied, and it's that fast curing that it can take traffic when it's still tacky. We don't suggest that. Again, making the point of moving towards taking time to repair as opposed to just quick temporary repair. But there is evidence of trains running over product once it's quite quickly after it's been applied. And this neat little bit at the end is just to leave there's a notch in the scraper process so that when the train then rides over, it provides a smoother passage over the joint and tries to reduce the knocking process. This last little bit, which is, I guess, quite a key part with regards to P-way, is the anti-static coating that's applied at the end of the process. So this coating is applied to the fish plates on the rail foot, on the fish plate shoulder, and all in and around that area. Obviously not coating the rail head, but this neutralizes or helps to neutralize the magnetic field around the end post area that can traditionally attract grinding dust and swarf, or anything from the backdraft of the train, any dust that's kicking around, can typically attract around the end post area and can cause a circuit failure. Once you've repaired this joint as part of the rehabilitation process, clean the joint area quite excessively of any dust or swarf and coat the area with using this coating spray. This is going to stop the attraction of any of those particles to the specific area, and hopefully going to protect and enhance the life of the joint even further. So the rubber particles in the spray allow it to be quite flexible as well, and reduces the likelihood of shorting the circuit as a result of iron filings collecting in the area. So this, just a quick one, fully pads approved now. Trial sites, we did some trials up at Doncaster. Those guys are seeing fantastic improvement, and we are rolling out a process mineralization sessions to all guys who are looking to use this kit in replacement for the temporary fix kit that they're using currently. So another area, and I'm going to ask Andre to jump in and make some points on these slides as well, because this is something that we're starting to discuss with Network Rail specifically, and that is coating of rails, specifically around IRJs, but actual coating or looking potentially at coating plain line. So this is a huge problem. So especially around insulated rail joints, water ingress, huge problem with reliability, and one of the #1 killers of insulated rail joints around the world. Rails can be coated, but once the insulated rail joint is manufactured, as part of the manufacturing process, you shot blast the rails, and so remove any of that coating so you can glue the fish plates on. We then provide this coating onto and around the fish plate area to fully seal the insulated rail joint. Now this is something that's done for the majority of insulated rail joints supplied to the Dutch and continent, customers on the continent, including the Dutch and Belgian customers, but it's something that we're looking to introduce in the UK as well. So as part of the specification for this coating, there's a minimum thickness and a standard, a set standard for insulation that the coating has to be approved too. So there are ceramic particles that are in this coating, which gives it its toughness. So it's applied to a certain thickness, which obviously provides a coating, a thick coating. But the actual coating itself then is tough to any stones, any ballast, nicks, anything like that. It's not a soft coating as such. It's tough, whilst being at the same time flexible. So any movement of the joint, if there's any voiding in and around the joint area, then this coating will move with the joint and won't crack, won't start unzipping at any point. And it's provided with a 15-year waterproof guarantee. Andre, I don't know whether you want to maybe just chip in at all with some of your experiences of using this product over in Holland.
Hello, thank you. Now, one of the questions of the Dutch government was, we want an isolated joint. We don't want any iron particles around the area of the end post, so we have a lot of disturbance, and that's when we started to use coating around the IBJs, and from that area on around the IBJs, the Dutch government asked us also to coat completely rails in the areas where they have a lot of problems, like the entrance in the tunnel, next to stations where train stops and people go to the toilet and stuff like that. And we have a lot of experience. These joints are already in for more than 7-8 years, do their work really good. And what I said, one of the benefits of coating a complete IBJ is that they are already also waterproof. So we did a waterproof test, salt waterproof, 52 hours in a basic water, the IBJ completely under, then clean it off and tested the isolation. It was exactly the same as we put it in. So there's really a lot of benefit on coating IBJs and special areas for rails, maybe something like the coast areas in England, something like that.
Great, thanks, Andre. So it's just another example of something that we're working on and trying to bring into the UK infrastructure. So this is another little tool that we actually Andre can take credit for developing, and it's something that we've nicknamed Quick Void. It's not yet got product acceptance for use, and we're at the minute just assessing its use and how attractive it's going to be for maintenance teams and PWA teams. So obviously there are systems out there that can measure voiding and systems out there that measure voids digitally now as well, but can be quite expensive and take time to set up and are a relatively permanent fixture in one specific area. So Andre developed this tool for, I guess, a tool to be kept in the bag of any PWA engineers out there who are going out, recognize an issue with voiding, who might want to take a relatively quick measurement or may want to leave something overnight, come back after various traffic has passed over an area. Specifically, again, this can be used for insulated rail joint rehabilitation, where you think when you rehabilitate the end post and then want to do some repacking or a little bit of tamping in and around the area, this tool can help with the amount of tamping that should be used. So as mentioned, it's quick, it's cost effective, it's got a magnet on the I don't know if you can see my mouse moving at all, but you can see it attached to the underside of the foot. So a magnet then attaches to the underside of the foot. The bolt released so that it drops down to touch the ballast at that point and slightly tightened up. The top nut then tightened up onto it, so the bottom sleeve and the top sleeve are both touching at, when the void meter is set. The Inside of the bottom sleeve has got a little plastic bearings on the inside of it that when tight, as a train moves over, will push down, move the top sleeve up, and you can then measure when you come back, you can then take a reading between the top and bottom sleeve, which will give you a clear millimeter reading of any voiding there. Can be used for surveying, repair, for insulated rail joints, when surveying expansion joints in and around level crossings, where it's not necessarily easy or necessary to put stationary equipment. This is just a little tool that we're working on. Any feedback on this that you guys can that you might have just from looking at this right now would be really appreciated. Again, Andre, feel free to jump in with any comments or remarks, but I'm going to move on.
Yeah, no, nothing else. I think it's clear. It's a really small tool, and if you do a quick measurement around expansion joints, IBJs around level crossings on that area, and you want to make sure that there is no really big void, and so the train could get in trouble. It's a quick measurement, and you know for sure what the void is.
So this is something else I want to touch on, and that's the topic of hybrid polymer sleepers and bearers. So we work with another Dutch company actually, who manufacture sleepers and bearers at 100% out of recycled plastic. There's a number of companies who are doing this now and creating the composite sleeper. I know it's really popular going forward at the minute. How these are different is that composite sleepers, the name composite means obviously adding some sort of stiffening agent. So plastic itself as a product, great for use on sleepers because of its ductility. On its own, not so great because it is too ductile. So you need to add a stiffening agent. So a composite sleeper typically gets things like glass fiber, one of the most common things to add to the plastic to stiffen it up. What that does is it stiffens it in every direction. So it becomes hard, it becomes brittle. So using plastic, great, but stiffening it with glass can then make it too brittle and doesn't give it that optimal ductility and optimal track stiffness. It goes back to being too stiff. So this Dutch company, Langhorst, they recognized this, and so they decided to reinforce their plastic sleepers with the steel rebar that you can see inserted. So there is a length of steel bar that runs in the four corners. That's essentially the no drill zone for the network rail spec no drill zone. So there's no issue with fouling of any screw spikes at all. There is a full suite of bearer products available that are 300 wide. Obviously, benefits of using hybrid polymers, sleepers, bearers for S&C is that there's less wear on the asset itself. So the rail gets less hammer because a lot of the energy is absorbed by the sleepers themselves. Another benefit here of using these products is that the subgrade, so the ballast and anything underneath the sleepers, doesn't get the same degradation as when using concrete, because again, a lot of the energy is absorbed through the polymer itself and spread out across the adjacent sleepers. So a lot of the energy isn't going straight down over into the ballast down through the sleeper that the train is over. It's being spread not only across the sleeper, but across subsequent sleepers, 2 or 3 sleepers either side of the one that the train wheel is over. So 50-year design life, or 50-year plus design life, and there are essentially a fit and forget. relatively maintenance free. Obviously, there are certain track maintenance that have to take place, so tamping, that sort of thing. But in terms of the sleepers themselves, they're maintenance free. They're impoverished to rot. They don't leach any chemicals and don't absorb anything from the environment either. So they're incredibly environmentally friendly. As I say, they're manufactured using 100% recycled plastic, and at the end of their life, they are 100% recyclable. So they can just be chopped up and made into other sleepers or any other polymer products. So as I mentioned, they've got the fantastic dampening qualities, and the track stiffness is optimal as well as a result of the steel inserts. They offer reduced noise as well. So the actual noise reduction, there are tests to show a couple of decibels reduction when compared with other sleeper types. And the actual rebar that's inside the sleepers helps with thermal expansion, reduces the thermal expansion because they're there to hold the material in place. And as mentioned, it reduces the impact on rail and on the ballast. So we're in the process with gaining Network Rail approval for these. We're in the early stages specifically for use in S&C, using them for bearers. We do have approval for use for TfL, so for London Underground. We're dying to get used on some projects down there. But as I say, at the moment, with regards to Network Rail on the UK infrastructure, we're taking the necessary steps to moving forward towards product acceptance. And these are just a couple of other things that we're working on, that hybrid polymer sleeper and bearer, as I mentioned. And other things that we get involved in as a company, CBXing, so cold expansion equipment. We are the manufacturer's global reseller. So we're not only supplying this to the UK, where it's obviously been mandated for a number of years, our team are looking to help other agencies around the world mandate this process into their rail drilling to help extend the life of rail ends, bolted joint expansion, anything in and around S&C as well. So working closely with the likes of Indian Railways, transits over in the US, and the mining companies over in Australia to help them realise the benefit of performing this process to improve the life of their asset. And another little development that we've got, not necessarily related to P-Way, I understand, but is the Prism Platform Pedestrian Deterrent panel. It's quite a mouthful, but this is something that we've worked on developing with Network Rail, and it's quite a formidable platform deterrent. So it is an anti-trespass panel with increased height spikes to make it a lot more difficult for people to walk over. And the feedback on these is really encouraging at the moment. We're also working on an alarm system panel as well. So they're just a couple of others off-track developments and things that we're working on as a team here at HRD. So I'm going to conclude it there. Andre, I don't know whether you've got anything to add to that. I know that was a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of the couple of things that we're doing as a company, a couple of things that we're working on. We're always looking for problems. So if there are anyone who, you recognize an issue with any of our products, or you have an issue that you feel one of our products could help solve, if there's anything that you think that we can help you with or work on, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We're always developing new products, so there will be some new P-Way products on the way. I know Andre's got some weird and wonderful ideas that we're hoping to bring to the UK network. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it being the middle of the afternoon. So thanks very much for that. Thank you to Colin for inviting us to present today. Again, if there's any questions, hopefully me and Andre can answer them. If we can't answer them now, more than happy to get back to anybody. My details are there, so contact me directly if you do have any questions. Thank you very much. I guess I'll hand back over to you, Colin, at this point.
Thank you for that, Andre, once again. Very insightful. If anyone has any questions, obviously just put them in the chat. I've got a question with regard to the Polymer Sleepers. In fact, I've got 2 or 3 questions, so just indulge me. How does a Polymer Sleeper compare weight-wise to, say, a timber sleeper or a concrete sleeper? And also, drilling into it, is it easier? Is it harder? And what about fixing into it? You know, are we talking, can you use an expanding type anchor, or is it a chemical anchor? Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about the Polymer Sleepers.
So I'll try and answer them in order. In terms of weight, they're relatively comparable to wood. They're considerably lighter than concrete, that's for sure. I know concrete are thinking about 3 times the weight of these hybrid polymers. Processing of the sleepers themselves, in terms of drilling, you process them exactly the same way that you would process wood. At the moment, they're to be used with traditional base plates. So we are working on or looking to develop some sort of casting shoulder to fit directly into, so we can remove the base plate. That's the overall goal here with this product, especially for the UK. But at the moment, you would use the sleeper just as you would a wooden sleeper. So you'd attach a base plate the same way you would attach to wood, and drilling exactly you'd use a similar drill bit as you would when drilling out wood. What it actually does, it actually creates quite a nice little coil. So where with drilling wood you obviously get the splinters that go everywhere, when drilling these sleepers out you almost get a perfect little plastic coil out of where you've drilled the hole. So cleaning up after yourself can be quite a bit easier.
And would you recommend, with regard to the fixing in the hole, because I'm thinking obviously in our part of the world we have third rail as well.
Yeah.
So can you use a chemical anchor, or can you use a mechanical anchor? Is the material resistant enough for us to put in an expanding anchor?
So yeah, so the pull-out characteristics, the screw spike pull-out tests are quite, they're quite superior. They're impressive. The material does have impressive pull-out characteristics. In terms of using an expanding anchor in the product, there's no reason why you couldn't. Affixing, third and fourth rail pots and things like that, not an issue, because that was obviously one of the issues when looking at introducing this to London Underground. So there's no issue with that at all. Can be processed, can be anything that you would typically use on wood can be used on these type of sleepers.
Excellent. And you say obviously it's been approved for use for LU. When would you expect an approval for Network Rail?
Great question. I don't know, Colin. In all honesty, I don't know. I can't give you an exact time of when we would hopefully get approval, but I would say hopefully somewhere within the next year to 18 months. I'd like to think that we've got some sort of product acceptance from NR.
Okay, great. Do we have any other questions, gents?
What I can do, Colin, is, because I see here Phil Edwards has mentioned that he's had to leave for another meeting, but was interested in the Polymer Sleepers as well. I can perhaps send you, Colin, a bit of a fact sheet or a bit of a document specifically on the Polymer Sleepers, so that you can circulate that, and then if anybody's got any other questions, they can come direct.
Yeah, no, that would be great. That would be great. Thank you. Just without flogging this to death, but on the Polymer Sleepers, could the same material be used for longitudinal timbers? or as an alternative?
So the company who manufacture these have got quite a suite of products. So they've got a really interesting, just away from longitudinals at the minute, but they've got a really interesting plain line sleeper, which is, I call a spine sleeper, but it essentially, where the base plates would sit, it can take the footprint of a base plate, but then all other areas at the top of the sleeper are set down, so that the weight of the ballast can obviously help with lateral resistance, and when walking down the track, you're less likely to slip. The difference being there that the rebar doesn't run in the four corners, because obviously the rebar would be exposed in the areas where the top side of the sleeper is set down. It runs through the center, so it runs sort of one above each other at 12 and 6 o'clock through the center of the sleeper. That's a really neat little product, just another example of what this company can do. Unfortunately, until we can create this cast and shoulder version, that doesn't really work very well in the UK, mainly because of base plate. So on the continent, in Holland specifically, where they don't generally use a 3 screw spiked base plate, they have 4 spikes. So it's not an issue. Whereas if using a 3 screw spike plate here, your spike would foul the rebar running through the center. But as part of their range, they do. I don't know whether they do, but there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to supply longitudinal beams in this product, within this material now.
Very good.
But I'll ping you over some detail on the company and their product offerings for your info.
Yeah, that would be great, Adam, if you wouldn't mind, and then obviously we can circulate it amongst the group.
No problem.
I don't see any other questions coming up on the chat. So the last opportunity for anyone to put their hand up at the moment if they have any questions. Okay, I'll take that as a no. Okay, well, look, gents, thank you very much for the presentation. I'd also like to thank Howard Russell, who I know reached out to you, Adam, with the idea of you presenting to us. So thank you for your support, Howard, in organising it, and obviously Adam and Andre. It's been a very insightful presentation. And when we look at, improving reliability with a view to extending life of the asset, there's been some fantastic examples here, backed up with, European approvals with 10 years of use in Holland, etc. And there's a lot of common applications that I think we can all relate to. We spoke about, the lipping application. We spoke about the coatings with a 15-year waterproof guarantee. The quick void measuring tool, that looked quite interesting. Maybe one or two of the guys may reach out to you about that. And of course, we've spoken about the polymer sleepers there, some detail. So certainly some food for thought. So Adam, Andre, thank you very much for your presentation. It's very much appreciated. And to the rest of you, obviously, thank you for joining in today. Once again, our next meeting will be virtual, and it will be on Tuesday, the 9th of February, with Paul Maxup, and he is giving us a presentation about the reinstatement of the fourth line from Bedford to Kettering that was originally moved as part of the beaching cuts. So stay safe, everyone. Obviously, again, Happy New Year, and I look forward to seeing you in February. Goodbye.